Coming up on 5 Minute News. Supreme Court allows electoral map faulted for racial bias. Biden to withhold gas pipeline if Russia invades Ukraine. And IRS reverses plan to use public facial recognition. It's Tuesday, February 8. I'm Anthony Davis. The conservative-leaning U.S. Supreme Court on Monday allowed Alabama to use a Republican-backed map of the state's U.S. congressional districts that a lower court found likely discriminates against black voters, handing a victory to Republicans as they seek to regain control of Congress in the November 8 elections. In a 5-4 decision, the court granted an emergency request by Alabama's Republican Secretary of State John Merrill and 2 Republican legislators to put on hold the lower court's injunctions ordering the state's Republican-led legislature to redraw the map. 5 of the 6 conservative justices were in the majority, with conservative Chief Justice John Roberts joining the court's 3 liberal justices in dissent. The court also said it would take up and decide the Alabama dispute on the merits, with arguments expected in the fall and a decision due by June 2023. The state legislature previously approved the map delineating the borders of Alabama's 7 U.S. House of Representatives districts. A panel of 3 federal judges on January 24th ruled that the map unlawfully deprived black voters of an additional House district in which they could be a majority or close to it, likely violating the Voting Rights Act, a landmark 1965 federal law that prohibited racial discrimination in voting. The Alabama dispute reflects an ongoing issue of contention between Democrats and Republicans in a broader fight over voting rights. Democrats have accused Republicans in various states of exploiting their majorities in state legislatures to craft electoral maps that diminish the clout of black and other racial minority voters, while maximizing the power of white voters. In a flurry of diplomacy across 2 continents, President Joe Biden met with Germany's new leader on Monday and vowed the crucial Nord Stream 2 Russia to Germany gas pipeline will be blocked if Russia further invades Ukraine. Russia's Vladimir Putin retorted that the US and its allies are the only ones talking invasion. Putin and French President Emmanuel Macron met for more than 5 hours in Moscow at the same time Biden and German Chancellor Olaf Scholz spoke at the White House in efforts to defuse the crisis before armed conflict breaks out. Russia has massed thousands of troops at the Ukraine border, adding military might almost daily. The White House has expressed increasing alarm about the prospects of war, and Biden has been looking to solidify support among European allies for economy-jarring sanctions against Russia if it attacks. Putin described Monday's talks with Macron in the Kremlin as useful, substantive, and businesslike, and said that some of Macron's ideas could form a basis for further joint steps. In a joint news conference after the talks, Putin said that a number of Macron's ideas concerning security were realistic and that the two would talk again once Macron had travelled to Kiev to meet Ukraine's leadership. The United States' Internal Revenue Service will no longer use third-party facial recognition technology on millions of Americans who use the agency's website to pay their taxes or access documents. The IRS said yesterday it would transition away from using the identity verification company ID.me in the coming weeks and develop a new authentication system that does not use facial recognition. The announcement comes hours after US lawmakers asked the IRS to halt its plans to use the technology. Citing privacy and security concerns, Democratic lawmakers on Monday had said they were deeply concerned about the IRS's deal with ID.me, the face recognition company that promises to verify taxpayers' identities with a selfie. Millions of Americans use the IRS website annually for a variety of vital functions, and as a result, each of them will be forced to trust a private contractor with some of their most sensitive data, the lawmakers said in a letter. We urge the IRS to halt this plan and consult with a wide variety of stakeholders before deciding on an alternative. Digital rights groups warned using facial recognition systems for identity verification when filing taxes raises a myriad of privacy and discrimination issues. Studies have shown both technologies ID.me uses in its identity fraud and verification processes, face matching and facial recognition systems, often misidentify black and brown faces. The use of such technologies also creates a massive database of information that can be vulnerable to cybersecurity attacks or shared with other government entities. Among the personal data the company is collecting are users' images, inferred citizenship based on passport information, voice prints, location data, addresses, social security numbers, driver's license numbers, passport card numbers, and more. Representative Ted Lieu said that the IRS had failed to justify why it needs to give a third-party contractor access to the biometric data of millions of Americans. You can subscribe to 5-Minute News on YouTube with your preferred podcast app. Ask your smart speaker or enable 5-Minute News as your Amazon Alexa flash briefing skill. Subscribe, rate and review online at 5minute.news. 5-Minute News is an Evergreen podcast covering politics, inequality, health and climate, delivering independent, unbiased and essential world news daily.